The South Melbourne markets have been opening to bustling crowds since 1867. Around 100,000 people pass through every week in search of fruit, vegetables, flowers, seafood and street gourmet finds. But along with all the wonderful produce comes waste. What to do with it? Karolina Wojtaszek is the market's operations coordinator. You must get tons of this stuff.
We do. We get hundreds of tonnes a year of organic waste. And we've got 3 initiatives that we've put in place to try and reduce all of that tonnes of organic waste going to landfill.
So this stuff literally just used to get thrown into a big hole in the ground and let to rot.
Yep. Not only did we throw out hundreds of tonnes a year of organic waste, we'd also have to pay for that service as well. And not to mention all the greenhouse gases.
The methane gas, of course. So you're paying for it, plus
harming the environment.
Shocking.
And,
oh, dear. So what happens to all this stuff now?
Well, now most of our green organic waste goes to the worm farm.
The worm farm that uses the green waste is near Werribee, and that's just half an hour west of the market. The manager here is Richard Thomas.
So all the market waste coming out here to the worm farm, and then we're adding a carbon source, which is straw from the local farm. We're blending it up and then we're composting it to break it down and stabilise it for the worms. It's exactly the same process as in your home worm farm or your home compost heap. You've got to get those browns and greens together.
Most of it goes elsewhere, doesn't it?
That's right. So we only use a small amount for the worm feed, and the rest of it ends up as really lovely compost that then gets used in gardens and for local farmers and so forth.
The portion of the green waste compost that's used as worm feed is first mixed with some other goodies.
So we add coffee grounds here from the local cafe, and we've got horse manure here from the local stable, and then we use zoo poo from the Werribee Zoo, which is nearby, and we add lucerne and sheep manure, and then we mix it all up here into a lovely blend, and then that goes into the worm bed.
The feed mix goes straight on top of the beds and the worms thrive on it.
All right, take a look at that, Jane.
Oh, look at them.
Look at that.
And now see, look at him. Oh, he's really wriggling. He's gorgeous. I can hear them buzzing. They heard you coming with all that food, and now they're going, they're coming. Yeah. Look at that. Oh, aren't they beautiful? Highly automated. Yep. 3 products come out of the worm farm, starting with the worms themselves.
So we get them onto a table and then we leave them sit there for a while. The worms don't like the light, so they start to burrow down to the bottom, and then we just scrape off that top layer. We do that 3 or 4 times, and then we just end up with worms at the bottom in a nice big pile of worms, and then they're ready for packaging.
I see that you've got a mountain of worm poo, the castings over there. How did you go about that?
Well, what we do is once these beds start to fill up, we just feed one side of the bed, all the worms move over to that side where the feed is, and then we come in and dig out all those lovely castings.
And that really is a fantastic soil conditioner, isn't it?
Probably the best that you can get anywhere. It's so full of nutrients and biology. There's so much activity going on in that soil. It's alive.
And what about the worm juice?
Well, the worm juice is the liquid that is shedding from the system. These beds are all lined, and then it all drained, gravity feeds down to an underground tank, and then we pump it back up through the beds and cycle it so that we can concentrate it, and then we get a really strong worm juice that we can then bottle and sell.
When diluted, the worm juice makes a terrific liquid fertiliser. The worm castings and the juice both travel full circle back to the South Melbourne market, where they're sold. And where Karolina has a big machine to show us.
So Jane, you've seen what we've done with a lot of our organic waste, and that's about half of it. The rest of it goes into our Gaia machine, which is a dehydrator. But it's a mixture of coffee grounds, a lot of offcuts from our cafe, more leafy greens, a bit of orange, as well as fish offal.
I thought I could smell something.
Yes, you definitely could. So, the right mix is really important, so you get the right amount of fish and organic waste. It cooks for 9 hours, dehydrating and shredding all of that organic waste. So you start off with about 600 kilos, and then that gets broken down to about 10% of its original size.
Gee.
And at the end of that, you get a type of blood and bone. Some people think it smells like fruitcake.
I can smell
Others,
raisins
not
and
so much.
sultanas.
Yes.
And so what happens to that next?
One of the local farmers who supplies a lot of our fruit and veg traders at the market actually uses the soil food in his farm. So we do about 300 tonnes a year through that machine.
It's great to see the waste system being embraced by the stallholders.
We know why the green bins are there. We know where the green bins are going to go. We understand what the dehydrator needs to work. It's still a little bit of an effort, but it makes you feel good because as you're chucking it in there, you know what's going to happen to it. To see the soil come out of the dehydrator is really exciting because you see green waste going, soil coming out, you see people buying the produce from the worm farm. It is really exciting to see that.
Oysters are a perennial favourite at the market. But what to do with the shells?
So this brings us to our third organic waste initiative, which is the shell recycling program. So all our oyster shells, our mussel shells and our scallop shells can be recycled. So it's a beautiful program run by the Nature Conservancy who are rebuilding reefs in Port Phillip Bay. They get collected and they're quarantined for at least 6 months, guarantees that there's no disease in the shells. After that, the shells are seeded with the juvenile oysters and then put back into the bay to rebuild our reefs. We have to guarantee that there's absolutely zero contamination in the shells. And so what you can see here is the guys emptying each bin and actually sorting through the shells by hand.
Shellfish reefs once stretched from Noosa to Perth, but 99% of them were wiped out, mostly in the 19th century, by dredging for food and raw material used to make cement. In many parts of Australia, we're now regrowing the reefs, and what had become marine deserts are once again teeming with life. The oyster shells collected here in South Melbourne are contributing to that rebirth.
Now we know that all our waste from our shells is going back into the ocean, creating more artificial reefs for our King George whiting, our snapper and all these sort of other local fish that we have in the bay. It's fantastic.
It is so good to see the 3 streams of recycling and getting rid of the contaminants and all that you've shown us.
Each project is incredible and does make a significant difference, but it also shows that each piece is important. And that moment when you decide what to put in each bin does count. You know, take that second.